So I've noticed over the past few years that you see a lot of hate for movie critics online. Am I right? This is a thing, I'm not making it up. True? Yes, we all agree with this. There's definitely an attitude for like, screw the critics, they're not worth listening to, they suck and they lie, they're uninformed and they're all probably being paid by Disney anyway. All that kind of shit, etc. You know, there's just this pure inherent hatred for movie critics. And I just think it's maybe because we hate being told what we should and shouldn't like. I think there's kind of a rebellious nature to it, maybe. That's just kind of my headcanon. Bit of a fan theory or whatever as to kind of why. But I also feel like I can't super relate to this like weird phenomena because I don't just hate all critics. And in fact, I'm kind of one of them in a way, in a very unofficial way. I'm a critic myself, so I'm not like, yeah, just fuck the critics. I don't ever want to hear what any of them ever have to say ever, you know? In fact, I think film criticism is kind of important. And more importantly than important, I think it's fun. You know, movie reviews are, in my opinion, enjoyable. So it's funny that they get so much negative reaction from a lot of people. And I think that there's just way too much criticism for criticism, ironically. But yeah, I think though that through all this hate for film critics, what we've done is kind of turned the term film critic into sort of like this ethereal symbol. You know, we've kind of weaponized the term movie critic and now it has a different connotation altogether. It doesn't exactly mean what it used to mean. We've turned the critics into public enemy number one, like they're this evil, faceless organization, this malicious hive mind like inhuman machine who always agree in every way somehow and who all just want to shit on the new fun movie that everybody's excited about. You know, rather than the term movie critic reflecting what critics actually are, which is just different people with like differing opinions and stuff. Now look, yes, the critics do as a group overall come up with a consensus overall, but that doesn't mean that they all attended the latest critic meeting and, you know, all agreed, but more so word of mouth made its way through their reviews and the reputation of each movie is then made up from there. And from then on, you can choose whether or not to listen to those reviews and all that stuff anyway. Like, the thing is, nobody's forcing you to listen to anyone, and if you disagree with one of these critics in one of these reviews, it doesn't have to ruin your day. But the thing is, what you should really be doing when it comes to critics and consuming their work is you should be singling them out. You know, listen to a particular one, find out what their interests are, find out what their tastes are, and see if you apply to that. Figure out which critics you like and trust, and then just listen to those ones from then on, if you so choose. You can do that. And I feel like that's logical and way too obvious, and I feel like that's me just going like, hey, is your brain in there or something? I'm being a bit of a smartass, aren't I? But I do feel like that is definitely the right approach rather than just being like, fuck every critic ever. Because you're never going to agree with every critic on every single movie opinion on every single movie no matter what. And you might not even agree with the overall consensus a lot of the time either. And guess what? That doesn't actually matter that much either. So feel free to ignore the critics that you deem to be snooty and pretentious. It's fine. Nobody cares. Because that's another thing that I do think we have to accept when it comes to movie critics and reviews and stuff overall. And that is that as a career does appeal to snobby people who want to look smart. Myself included, probably. That's just going to be the case though. So if you are a fan of something like, say, the new-ish Mario movie, and the critics are saying it's bad, you don't necessarily need to listen to them. Just watch the movie. You know, don't worry about it. No one's trying to take the movie away from you. That isn't the point, or at least shouldn't be the point of a review, in my opinion. But that's another thing that I do want to talk about. I find this idea so strange, where people only watch or read or listen to movie reviews in mind, where it's like, should you watch the movie? And the answer to that is the overall goal. That's the only goal. Like, as if movie reviews should be made in the same mind as like a product review for literally any type of like consumer crap. I'd argue that movie reviews can't and shouldn't work in the same way as, say, a vacuum review. You know, it's more complicated than that because movies are art and opinions regarding them are subjective. So when people begin treating movie reviews as if they're like this objective truth and the only point for the review to exist is to either warn off or welcome in paying customers to the box office, I just find that so strange because that mentality turns this thing of reviewing films into such a transactional and cold kind of thing. Instead of talking about the art and how it affected us and just having a bit of fun, it turns it into this very corporate, boring kind of thing. And I'm not a fan of it. And it all kind of makes me question what the appeal to movie reviews is to most people overall, because I don't think it's the same for myself. I think I'm watching them and making them for different reasons. What I watch a movie review or listen to one for is just to be part of the discussion. Hearing what people have to say, hearing other people's opinions. I just like being part of that discussion. And I like hearing about the thing that is popular and now at the time, and the thing that everybody's talking about, because I just like living in this world of entertainment, and basically I just like being part of the film fan community and being like a film nerd or whatever. I just enjoy that, and current movie reviews give me a place to feel connected to the experiences that everybody else is also having, and being able to weigh in on everything with my opinion as well. I just like watching the current stuff and seeing what other people have to say. It's not that complicated, but I just thought I'd explain it anyway. But I think what a lot of other people watch movie reviews for, especially the ones that are for like new releases only, is just to figure out if they should waste their money on that thing or not, or be validated on their already existing opinions. Those are the two things I think as watchers or readers or listeners to movie reviews. That is what they want. They want to know if they're going to waste their money and if their opinion is correct. And I feel like a lot of YouTube critics themselves take this approach too, and I find it so boring. You know, some try to capitalize on the love or hatred for a popular IP, which there's nothing necessarily wrong with, but sometimes it's just so glaringly obvious. Like, all those people that are going to be, I don't know, talking about every Fast and the Furious movie at the moment because the next one's coming out soon. I was thinking about doing it myself, if I'm being honest, okay? Full disclosure, but everybody does it. Everybody does the same thing, and I'm sick of everybody doing the same thing. It makes YouTube boring. That's another discussion anyway. While others make their reviews so corporate and personality-less. And like I said, it's all about the question, you know, of whether the watcher should see the movie or not. And I hope that I achieve a bit more than that with my videos, and I hope mine come off as a bit more expressive, and I hope it's a bit more of a communal experience that we're having. I think everybody should make up their own opinion on the film. You shouldn't listen to me about whether you should see it or not. But maybe in most people's heads, ideally, all reviews should just be one word long. Should you see it? Yes or no, and that's it. But I think that we should strive to be a bit more ambitious with our reviews, right? Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe they don't mean as much to most people as they do to me. But look, also, not every film is super serious, and so not every review is going to be deep and meaningful. Sometimes a movie is just fun, and that's fine, and you're gonna tell the people to go see it, and they will, and the movie's gonna make a bunch of money, and that's it. But the thing is, I'm still never gonna watch a negative movie review and in return just be like, fuck it, I'm never gonna see it. I'm never gonna see that movie if I was already interested in seeing the movie before I watched that review. But I feel like that's the expectation, you know? I don't know, but I'm always gonna watch a film I'm already interested in, even if I hear nothing but bad things, because I need to see for myself. And this isn't an argument about my sheer integrity or some shit, but I'm just saying reviews, I think, mean something different to me. I respect critics, and I always want to hear what they have to say out of curiosity, not out of apathy or for monetary reasons, or just to see if I'm right or whatever, because there's no right and wrong. They're subjective opinions. And so when people feel like they're validated by a critic or whatever and agree with one when they say things that they like, but then turn on them as soon as they say anything else, I just find it strange. I don't think movie reviews should be about agreeing or not, if that makes any sense. But again, maybe I'm overthinking it. But the thing with all of this though is also that what a critic fundamentally is, I think, has changed over the years as well. I mean, with social media and stuff, and I'm not saying that that's a new thing, but over the past 15 years or so, with social media emerging, the thing that has changed with critics is that basically everyone's a critic. Everyone can get their voice out there. And look, there is a difference between like being a professionally paid critic, submitting something somewhere and getting published, in comparison to videos like these where it's just some dumbass talking about movies and stuff sometimes, and I get that. With the reputation and actually having a, you know, critic as your job probably does change things within your mentality and why you're getting into this to begin with. But even still, in the end, I would say that it's all content. We're all competing for attention, and we all want to get our opinions out there. And if everyone's a critic, it really kind of equalizes things and makes it so that nobody's a critic anymore in a way. The lines have blurred. But I feel like my differing approach to watching reviews and the fact that anybody and everybody can be a critic now comes a whole other perspective where people only want to hear what they already think spouted back at them and nothing more. Making it so that everybody's kind of getting dangerously closer and closer to just shoving their faces in a hole and never wanting to hear anybody else's opinion on anything if it ever slightly deviates from their own. And when it comes to, you know, movies and stuff, maybe that's not that big of a deal, but you know, this can also be extended to serious issues and all that shit as well, and have to do with politics and whatnot. But I'm not getting into all that stuff. We're just talking about movies here. But even then, I just find that really sad and boring though. I think other people's opinions are important, and I think it's just kind of like very ignorant. Just ignore anybody that you slightly disagree with. Like for instance, right, I've got this movie behind behind me, Star Wars The Last Jedi. I hope that's on camera. And that's quite unpopular among a certain demographic. Quite unpopular. A lot of people hate that movie. But the thing is, I love it. Now, should you never listen to what I have to say ever because I like a movie that you might not? I don't think so personally, but a lot of people would, honestly, because there's no room for nuance anymore on the internet, and it just kind of shits me, you know? Like, does that just take away all my credibility that I like a movie that you don't like? I think that's a ridiculous concept, but you see it all the time. On the other hand though, in a very similar vein, you also get a lot of people who defy reviews entirely out of spite, commenting, fuck you, I don't need to listen to what you have to say, if they have a bad thing to say about a movie that they love or have faith in before they even see it for themselves. They'll say things like, I'm gonna see it anyway, as if that's like completely debunking the review and suggesting that the review is now completely useless. As if they're targeting a critical hit onto the blanket term once again, the critics. And it's where I have to ask though, who do you actually think the critics are? Because you'll see a lot of the time in the comments of certain YouTubers' videos, for instance, the most obscure YouTube reviewer I can think of right now, Jeremy Jahns. Yeah, he's not obscure, I know. But the point is, he's a critic, right? Like, we all know that he is a critic within himself, right? But I still feel like you'll get comments on his channel all the time where they'll be like, yeah, fuck the critics, you tell them, Jeremy. The Mario movie was fun. And I don't know why I'm shitting on the Mario movie so much. It's just a newish film that came to mind. But yeah, I still feel like people will be like, yeah, Jeremy's great, the critics are the worst. But like, Jeremy Jahns is a critic. And look, I don't know if Jeremy Jahns is like a certified critic on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, but who the hell says that that's the criteria? No. He's most definitely an independent critic who gives informed opinions and influences hundreds of thousands of viewers with each video that he makes. If that's not a critic, then this whole discussion is stupid and pointless, doesn't make any sense, and I'll fucking eat my own hat or whatever. Jeremy Jahns is a critic. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I think everybody can agree on that. But I do find it kind of funny. Like, where do people think the line is drawn? Who is and isn't a critic? Am I a critic? Kind of. But the point is, people will hate on critics for saying negative things about an IP that they love, or even vice versa. Critics can get shit for saying positive things about a movie deemed bad as well. Like The Last Jedi, for example. And I find that weird too, because I feel like the point of a review is to just add your 2 cents into the discussion and have a bit of fun, I guess, really, to be honest. I don't know. Am I being way too fucking like charitable and weird here and like hysterically hippy-dippy and too optimistic, living in my utopia where people just share their opinions on social media and people are like, oh, okay, cool, regardless on whether they agree or not? Maybe the world is harsher than that and more serious, and I should take everything so much more seriously than this. Or maybe none of this shit matters, and who cares, and why am I even making this video? I don't know. Really depends on your perspective, I suppose. I just think the blind hatred for the term movie critics is silly. And it's really simplifying things and saying that anybody who is a critic is just an idiot or is being paid to say nice things about a certain title or any other of those weird specific accusations thrown there / our way. It's very dismissive to a format that I love, if I'm being honest. Movie reviews and videos and all that kind of stuff and movie content online is something that is super important to me. It's something that I fucking live for, if I'm being honest. It's something that I constantly watch, something that I constantly make, and it's important to me. And I feel like the internet, for as much as it broadcasts all of this stuff and we couldn't do it without it, the internet hurts it as well. It turns this into a whole thing that doesn't have any room for nuance. And I'm kind of sick of all the proverbial shouting online and arguments and annoying hatred, especially for things, like I said, that don't even really matter all that much, you know? Other people's movies' opinions are not that big of a deal to you. I don't know. All I know is I'm going to keep making videos talking about movies and all that stuff and voicing my opinions, while also listening to a wide variety of other creators while I'm at it too, because I just do love this format, and if it's a format that makes you angry, maybe you're hanging out in the wrong place. I don't know, maybe fuck off. And I guess that's about all I have to say. Thank you for watching and all that stuff, and before you go, please do those things. Nomadic, goodbye.